camera, we're rolling. So same thing as Paul, just look right at me, it'll be over before you know it. Just so I'm safe, can I get your first last name, savings sponsor?
First name is Kevin, common spelling. Last name is Hulbert, H-U-L-B, is in boy, E-R-T.
Perfect. What's the nice title you want to go by?
I'm a co-founder of the Patriot Picket.
Perfect. And you are actually from the Eastern Shore?
I'm actually from the Eastern Shore. Yeah, I live in Wallops Island, Virginia.
Great place, I love it. All right, just jumping right into it. Really the same questions as Paul. We're talking today about these two committee hearings on gun bills. The big one, I think, is the long gun bill. What are your thoughts on that? Good, bad idea?
We think it's absurd. Maryland, ever since colonial days, hunters and sportsmen and gun owners have been able to use these guns for legal purposes, and they've been able to sell them to each other in private sales for 400 years. And suddenly this year, the Maryland General Assembly thinks there's something wrong with that, and they want to criminalize that activity and require long gun owners to submit to a 4-hour training class, to submit their fingerprints as if they're criminals, to have to make an application that could take 30 days to fulfill, and then they want them to wait 7 days to pick up a new gun. This could add $200 to the cost of an ordinary gun. It could double the price of a ordinary shotgun or hunting rifle.
What's the problem with this kind of regulation, especially for people in the Eastern Shore?
It's over-regulation because it'll criminalize activity that most people don't even realize has become a law. Most hunters and sportsmen on the Eastern Shore have been loaning their rifles and shotguns to fellow hunters and to family members during the hunting seasons. And this law intends to criminalize just the loaning of the gun. The Maryland General Assembly wants you to transfer the gun legally to the other person and pay fees and register with the Maryland State Police that you've had this transfer. This is something people have been doing for hundreds of years. It's never created a problem, and they're searching for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
What do you have to say to those folks who are like, well, especially given what happened in the Capital Gazette, forgot to mention St. Mary's County, there was that school shooting as well. This is one way for us to try and make sure that this doesn't happen again. May not solve it right away, but it's something rather than nothing. Any thoughts to that?
The ownership of guns in Maryland and throughout the United States, it's a fact of life. It's an enumerated right to own them and possess them and to bear them. And the guns that were used in these terrible crimes, in the case of the Capital Gazette shooting, it was someone who obtained the guns legally, and this law wouldn't do anything to change that. The youth who took the gun from his parents' home in southern Maryland, this was a gun that was purchased and owned legally. Once again, there's nothing that really could change the outcome when an older teenage child who was expected to behave responsibly, by his parents, did something that no one expected him to do.
There you go. And then, again, talking about the other bill we're hearing today, ghost guns. What's the problem with that?
There is no problem. This is part of the Democrats' imagination that these guns, which aren't even in use today, they've never been used to commit a crime, for God's sakes. These guns are sort of at the invention stage where engineers, machinists, home hobbyists, home gun builders are experimenting with the technology to build a gun at home out of parts, the so-called 3D printing. The guns are not really in use yet because they haven't developed the technology. This would shut down and criminalize ordinary gun building hobby, home hobby, and home engineering even, and it would put an end to legal activity and activity that Americans have engaged in since the beginning of the country, inventing things.
And I have a quick question. I assume you're a gun owner.
Yes, I am.
For you, I mean, having these laws, if they become law, would it be a detriment to you?
It would, because the criminalization of all of these things, which we have done for so long, lawfully, without problems. The ownership of guns, the transfer of guns, the sale of guns through private sales to family members and friends and people who are not criminals. Yeah, it is a burden. It's a huge burden, particularly since the Maryland General Assembly tends to pass laws that nobody knows about. And so many people will be very surprised to learn they have done nothing unlawful, and yet Maryland says they're now a criminal, they're now a felon, they've lost their gun rights for life, and they can't recover them. And they never even knew that it was a crime. The biggest problem is nobody knows about these laws. The press hasn't really been helping to publicize the attempt of the Maryland General Assembly to pass such laws.
With that being said, if we could just also talk about what you've been doing here today. What have you been doing since 9 a.m.?
I'm a member of the Patriot Picket, and we're a group that demonstrates for our Second Amendment rights in Maryland and in the surrounding states. We're here because these hearings are being conducted today about these proposed gun laws, and the only way we can voice our opinion here in Annapolis is to come here and sit in these seats and come to the witness table and tell the legislators why we think that these guns laws are nonsense. Most of them are in search of a problem that doesn't exist. And we believe that the Supreme Court will rule eventually that most, if not all, of the gun laws they passed recently, particularly since 2013, are unconstitutional. They should never have been passed in the first place, and we're unhappy that our legislators, despite the oath they've taken to uphold the Constitution, are coming here and passing laws they know are unconstitutional on their face, and they don't seem to care.
There you go. What's it like? Is it cold out here?
It is, but I'm among many patriotic Americans, law-abiding gun owners who come here, will stand in the cold and the rain. The Patriot Picket has been here in Annapolis for 3 years demonstrating for our Second Amendment rights. I'm one of 2 people who was arrested right here in Annapolis for First Amendment activity in support of the Second Amendment. We have a federal civil rights lawsuit pending against the state of Maryland now because we were arrested without cause here on the sidewalk directly in front of the State House, attempting to demonstrate our support of our Second Amendment rights.
I'll ask you a question off camera, but anything else you wanted to add, Kevin? I forgot to say.
We urge everybody in Maryland who cares about their gun rights to contact their legislator, their senator, and their delegate in their district, and write them, call them, come to the office and talk to them and tell them that what they're doing here is wrong.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Before you